Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Sydney, and I'm here today with a little bit of a message. So, I was just kind of like meditating or whatever, and I started thinking about my ancestor altar and how I'm reconnecting with my ancestors in a different way, different things like that. And it just came to me to make a video about it because, and to kind of talk about my spiritual journey thus far. So, I've always had an ancestor altar ever since I think like 2017, 2018, since the beginning of 2018, I think. Yeah. But I've had an altar, like my own like self altar, crystal altar, meditation altar. I've had that since about 2016. And how I thought of doing, at first I was scared to do an ancestor altar. There, like I talked to my ancestors, I communicated with them in some ways, but I was scared to actually have an altar. And that scare was just like religious trauma. That's all it was. So, it was like that, oh, is this really right? And, like being scared for my soul and stuff like that, whatever. But when I met my husband, he had mentioned, he was like, you should have an ancestor altar. You just, put your ancestor pictures on there and da 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 da. And so I finally did it at that point. And ever since then, I've always had one in my home, in my space, even if it was just like literally some pictures in a box or one candle or something like that. So basically, the altar is a space, and you don't like I have more than just an ancestor altar. I have a self-love altar. I have different types of altars, money altar, but different types of altars. But I've been really focused on deepening my relationship and my connection with my ancestors here lately. And for me, that's going to look like really having an ancestor altar that I'm tending to on a regular basis and that I'm feeding and putting energy into on a daily basis. And so when I first started out, I think I just had like a couple of like obituaries for my for some of my ancestors, like my great grandmother, my grandmother, my uncle. Who I think that was all I had at that point. I think I just started off with that, and I had like a feather on there to represent air, cup of water, as fresh water, of course, and we know water is energy. Water is one of the four elements. Had a plant on there for the earth energy. A few crystals. What else did I have on there? It was like basic, basically. It was pretty basic. And an incense holder. And I just would go to my altar and sit and meditate, pray, talk, cry. I did a lot of crying at that first altar. A lot of crying. I think I did a lot of womb meditations there too, because most of the ancestors that I actually knew, when they were alive are females. Females. So I did a lot of womb healing there, a lot of ancestral womb healing. Oof, jeez. Yeah, I did a lot of ancestral womb healing there. Um, I did a lot of different things at that altar. And that was kind of what opened my eyes up to like having an actual spiritual space that's specific for my ancestors and how having that can really strengthen the connection. So after that, I moved in with my husband. That time he was my boyfriend, and I pretty much had the same setup. He had his own setup, and I had my own setup. And then when we moved to Atlanta, we had a garden room in our apartment. So I had and I made a video over this with him. I will find that video and repost it to this account. But on my old account, me and him together made a video speaking of our altars, our ancestor altars, how we use them, different things like that. It was really detailed. It's really long, but but yeah. So at the first apartment that we had in Atlanta, we had a garden room, and it was my office space, but we also had our two altars in there. So it was really great because there was a lot of sunlight that would come in, and so sun would be able to, be connected to the altars and fuel the altars and give the altars energy. It was like a whole big setup. Like it really, really was. But since then, I have not done a major setup like that since that time period. And we moved out of that apartment in 2021. So I haven't had a major setup like that since 2021 just because of life. But like I would go drink tea there. I would journal there. I even I made a floor pillow, just for that altar. Like it was a nice setup. I did candle rituals on there regularly. There was a lot of different things, ancestor artifacts, my own personal things that I, related to my ancestors. I had fresh flowers on there very often. Like it was a really nice setup altar. And it was really, really like it was legit. I did a lot of healing at that altar. Once again, I would do meditations there. I would journal there. I would drink my tea in the morning and set my intentions there. Like I did a lot of things there. I did all of my candle rituals on that altar. So that was like the most intense, most complex setup I've had. And I had that from 2019 to 2021. So I would say, even though I had an altar in 2018, the one that I previously described, my first ancestral altar, that second one that I had from 2019 to 2021, I really feel like it completely broke um, open. Like it broke me open in like a way to really break away and tear away at a foundation that I had, the stability within my life. It like completely cracked me open in the best way, like cracked me open to be recreated into something new. I didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back, I can foresee not foresee, but I can perceive everything very clearly now. So at that altar, I was changing out the water regularly for my ancestors, changing out flowers regularly, doing a lot of healing work there, doing candle rituals regularly, lighting incense daily. I would do food offerings almost daily there. Like that was the most tentative, attentive that I've been with any altar. Just being honest, any altar that I've ever had, it was really, really nice. And then in 2021, um, I became homeless for a little bit. I was in between homes. That's a whole nother story within itself. I'll just say this: if you move to Atlanta, make sure you move to the right part because the landlords there ain't shit. But anyways, so yeah, I was in between homes for a minute. I was pregnant, but I ended up moving in with my sister and her husband and my niece. So I ended up moving in there. So me and my husband were in one room. And we didn't really have an altar. He didn't have an altar at that point in time. I didn't have an altar at that point in time. But we did do a couple of candle rituals while we were there. So at one point we had actually this table that's right in front of me, which came from my grandmother. Whoops, shift the camera. But we had this table and we would do like some 7-day candles there and maybe like a picture. And I had this jar. So it wasn't necessarily an ancestor altar, but kind of like a multi-purpose altar for whatever we needed it for. And I would also do candle rituals with that set. and she was on there, and that was just like a here and there type of thing, like maybe on the full moon and on the new moon, like it was that we would have it set up. Then 2022, moved into a fresh, brand new apartment. And honestly, I never really had an altar at that apartment. I had a desk in the kitchen, like how some apartments have like built in desks, like in between the kitchen and the living room area. That was pretty much what I had. And honestly, I really didn't use it as an altar. I think I used like one of the little shelf. It was like a open indoor window kind of space, and it had a shelf, and I just had my bassett jar on there, a couple of crystals, maybe my cards, and I think that was it. Yeah, so that was what I had on that thing. So from 2022 through when we got back in Arkansas in 2023, I really didn't have a stable, secure, like I'm attending to it living altar for my ancestors, or really any altar, honestly, in that time, other than the makeshift full moon, new moon altars I would do for my candles, and then like not have an altar until the next new moon or full moon. So got here, and now me and my husband share an ancestor altar. So he has one side, I have the other side. I don't have as advanced or complicated as a setup as I would like, or like the one that I had in the past. But I also understand like I'm at a different spiritual stage. Like I'm more the altar than the thing, if that makes sense. But I still like it. I still like having an external altar. So I do want an external altar that is a reflection of me. But I'm planning one out now. I love to decorate and design altars. I'm planning one out now, and I'm going to start looking for pieces as I see them, things that I think would fit, things that my ancestors tell me that they want, colors, crystals, little statues, figurines, things like that. Or even like sometimes when I come across a good sometimes when I come across a good tea bag saying I'll stick stuff like this on my altar. Like this says compassion is your strength. Like I'll stick stuff like that on my altar. So yeah, I'm planning one out now, but the altar that I have now is basically my ancestors' obituaries, a statue from my grandmother, a statue from my great aunt, a souvenir from when my grandmother took me, my cousins, my mother, and my aunt to the NASA Center in Houston. No, Galveston. I don't know, Houston or Galveston. It's in Texas. Have that, her domino, my grandmother's dominoes, some ancestor money, an angel light incense holder where I light the incense, a pothos plant and water, a water cup. I think that's pretty much all I have on my side. So it's still fairly simple, extremely simple. But I have all four elements on there, and I like candles on there too. And I do ancestor offerings, food offerings every once in a while, but I want to start picking up on it more. So I guess I was led to talk about this just to talk about my journey, especially with altars. Having an ancestor altar for me, it really changes the level of care and the level of effort that I put into my ancestral relationships. It's a physical way for me to connect to them, and a physical way for them to connect to me, because these offerings that I give them, those are physical, and they take what they need from that. And it's just a good space to have to remind me of my ancestors, because if I didn't have that space, I probably wouldn't think about them nearly as much. Like I just wouldn't, and I know I wouldn't, because there was a time in my life before I worked with my ancestors, had a relationship with my ancestors where I didn't think of them much, where I had completely lost that connection, and where when I would think of them, it was always associated with grief and sadness. So I definitely think that there's value in having an ancestral altar as somebody who's had one for years, and who's been through different stages with their ancestral relationship and with having an ancestral altar. I've had times where I had to be the only altar that I could have at that time. And so it made me move different. It made me act accordingly to the growth that I know I needed. Um, what else? I think that's pretty much all I could say about them, really. I probably will post a video not showing my altar, but just showing like an example of a very simple altar setup because, like I said, I love decorating altars. I love creating altars for all their different purposes. Let's see. I do have a couple of cards. So while I was in the store, my daughter was getting antsy, and so as I was checking out, so I asked her if she wanted to pull some cards for me, and she put the devil card and the tower in reverse. And so immediately what I thought was, dang, I really am resisting change through my mindset and my attachments to old mental thoughts, old mental patterns. So if you're a person who knows and really feels deep down that your life is changing, like for the better in the moment, because it is a process, just accept it. Don't resist the change. Accept the change away from the devil mindset, that attachment to struggle, that attachment to lack of love, lack of abundance, lack of purpose, lack of inspiration, anything that you feel like you are ever lacking. Like, go ahead and let go of that, because that life is over. And through you staying attached to that mindset and letting devil energy run you, you're resisting change. You're resisting change. And the only constant in life is change. So no use in resisting it. And I'm talking to myself as I say that too. But I'm going to pull one oracle card from the auspicious symbol deck. This is just the deck that I had closest to me. So we have one fall on the floor, two fall on the floor, and you know what they say. When they fall on the floor, it's a lot more powerful. So what? Right? I love these. Let me turn my timer off. Otherwise, it's gonna go off on me. Okay. So it was actually three. So the first one is the card number 7. So 7 may be a significant number for you. And I apologize. I'm from Arkansas. Okay. Right now, I'm probably gonna butcher some of this, and hey, we're just gonna roll with it. It's all from pure love and pure intention. So the I Ching delivers luck and special answers to your questions about the future. Like I said, let go of that devil energy, right? There's no use in resisting change, especially when you know that luck is on your side in the future and even now in this moment. But if you're going to apply anything to your future, apply luck to it. Don't apply lack. We have number 16 with White Tara. Ooh. Open yourself to White Tara and invite her wisdom and peace to fill you. And so, anytime we're talking of the goddess Tara, I always am going to immediately, my mind is always going to go towards the word compassion. So, right now in this moment, you're being called to have a lot of compassion with yourself too. A lot of compassion and just love on yourself. And if you really don't know how to do that, open yourself to White Tara and invite her wisdom and peace to fill you. She's a very compassionate goddess. Very, very compassionate goddess. if you do feel called to um, find out a little bit more information about her, you may also find out a lot of information about green tar, which is another one of her forms that is extremely popular. So you might end up finding information about green tar, but they are same goddess, different forms. You'll also find information on white tar too. And last card, number 18, Ganesh. Smooth sailing ahead. All obstacles are being resolved and released. So Ganesh is a Hindu god, and one thing that he does is he destroys and removes all obstacles. He completely clears the path. So your path is being cleared right now. Any obstacles that you may have faced in the past are not going to repeat unless you want them to repeat, and you continue to hold on to that past energy. But the only thing that can make them repeat is you, by having that perception that's ruled by devil energy in your head. But yeah, it's not crazy. It's so much in alignment that Ganesh popped out of this deck, because here lately I have been like having the mouse as a symbol, which is not something that I'm particularly fond of, because I don't do well with rodents, but I've been having the mouse pop up as a symbol, as a personal omen. And often you'll see Ganesh see it with a mouse at his feet, at his foot, yeah, at his feet, at his foot. So yeah, that is something that's also associated with Ganesh. So yeah, all obstacles are being removed. External obstacles, internal obstacles with that devil energy mindset. You'll have to decide if you want that removed or not. But yeah, luck is on your side, and everything is working out exactly as it should. Everything is working out exactly as it should. Everything is working out exactly as it should, and everything is working out for your highest good. Remember that. And there was a song that I felt called to, dang, say that I've been listening to today. Oh no, not really sure, but I will say this. I went to the library today, took my daughter to the library today, and I look nice. And I've been really putting a lot of effort in just expressing myself through my physical wear. And if I'm gonna live this life, if I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna make it look sexy. I'm gonna make it look good. And I think that that's just the exact same thing that all of you should do too. If you're gonna live this life, if you're gonna be here, if you're gonna decide to be present, if you're gonna put work into yourself, make yourself look good while you do it. It will make you feel so much better. Always stay true to you and what looks good for you, but express yourself through what you put on, how you present yourself. Like, make this life look good. Make it look good. I don't care if you're struggling. I don't care what's going on. If you're going to struggle, if you're going to go through, if you're going to be depressed, if you're going to be sad, whatever, make it look sexy. And not in a toxic way, but in a just pick yourself up and make it look good, you know? So, peace out.